1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
Mia O'Brien is on her way from the campus of the University of North Florida. As Molly just said in her update, UNF men's basketball coach Matthew Driscoll decided to step down after 16 seasons. He will now be an associate head coach at Kansas State. And athletic director Nick Morrow announced today, yesterday I should say, that interim head coach Bobby Kinnan, the very first hire for Coach Driscoll back in 2009, will take over. And Taylor, it's so funny. We just were talking about where we were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how starting in July of 2015, I became the director of athletic marketing at UNF. And so I got to work with all the different coaches across every sport because director of marketing for athletics, it is every single Division I sport that UNF has. And each coach was great, right? But Coach Driscoll, there is no one like Coach Driscoll. And so I can tell you from the time that I was on Helmets and Heels way back, right around 2015, he would text me, send text about different sports. And when he found out that our show was moving from once a week to every day, he was one of the biggest advocates out there. And so I just want to say thank you to him. I was so excited that, we got to talk to each other just a little bit before the press conference began today. And I have full faith in Coach Kinnan. I know Coach Kinnan. I know Coach Perkins, all the assistant coaches that have been with Coach Driscoll for so long. But just a great basketball coach, but an even better person. And I know that sometimes people hear that and they say that that's cliche, but it really isn't. Coach Driscoll pours into everyone in his life. He is super spiritual, and certainly UNF is going to miss him. But like I said, the basketball program is still in really good hands.
Yeah, I think the energy that he puts out into everything he does is something that people should strive to be like. And I'm very, I really do try and be that person to make people's days better when I'm out and about. I'm very, thank you so much. And I hope you have a great day. And I mean that genuinely. And that is Coach Driscoll 1000%. And I know he'll text you during our shows sometimes. I remember the one time when I said I hate Aaron Rodgers. He's like, hate's a strong word. And I was like, I know.
Sports hate, Coach Driscoll. Sports hate. No, you're absolutely right. You do that. And I think it's important for all of us. I feel like when I go to the grocery store, the cashier's like, wait, I'm supposed to be the one saying thank you and have a good day.
Do you need help scanning?
I'm always like, I'll take the baskets, because I usually have a basket, not a cart, at the grocery store. And I'll be like, I'll take the baskets. And then they look at me and they're like, that's our job. And I'm like, I know, but I know where they go. Yeah. And it's just easier if I do it. But Mia was at the press conference too. Coach Driscoll spoke for an hour about the journey that he's had in his life in general, but specifically, of course, the last 16 years, how much his family means to him. To me, Taylor, though, the coolest part was he was sharing stories about recruiting certain players, stories that I didn't know. So when I worked there, it was right when I wasn't working there. I was there as a media member when UNF won the ASUN. And that was an insane environment. Mm-hmm. I mean, UNF Arena was completely packed. The students ended up rushing the court. Frank was sitting next to me at the media table, and he was like, all right, if the students start to rush, cover your head, don't let them stomp on your head. And I was like, I didn't realize this media thing was this dangerous.
But so what did I get myself
I know. So then that was awesome. I mean, that was the loudest environment outside of a football game that I'd probably ever been in. And it was close to that Florida-South Carolina game in 2006 when Florida blocked the kick. I won't use the affectionate nickname for that that moment. But so then I started working at UNF 2015 in that summer. And then that fall, when the basketball programs began, it beat Purdue. And that was its first ever victory over a Big Ten program. Mm-hmm. And so that was really cool. And just seeing the evolution of the program, you had some just such talented guys playing there. And certainly they've gone on to play, some of them in the league. And then Chaz Lanier, as Coach Driscoll talked about, started at UNF, of course, earned his degree, and then went to Tennessee. And now he'll be the first drafted player ever from UNF. And he joked I suppose Tennessee's going to claim him, but really, Chaz Lanier is ours. And he's important to say it's he and his staff. It's not just Coach Driscoll. But so that fall, UNF was really good. Again, they weren't quite as good as they were the year prior, but they were able to make it to the NIT. Mm-hmm. Well, the O'Connell Center was undergoing a renovation at that point in time. This was spring of 2016. And so UNF hosted the University of Florida in men's basketball in the NIT. So it was, talk about for the person who's running the event, it was crazy to learn. Like Florida had like 6 people at least that did the job that I did as one person. And granted, the schools are very different sizes. Yeah. But I learned so much about the behind the scenes of things from those Florida people, those staffers. But it was just also really cool to see UNF be able to elevate its profile by hosting a team like that. Like normally UNF, of course, would have gone to Gainesville. And so just those memories will stick with me forever. And like having the Florida cheerleading team, right? Like the school that I went to and have always rooted for, and now the school that in the moment I'm rooting for. Yeah. But having the Florida cheerleaders there and the band and all those guys, it was a surreal moment.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. And I remember talking to Nick Morrow about the rivalry between JU and UNF and how cool it is to have that in-city kind of naturally built rivalry. And obviously you have the River City Rumble multiple times a year, and that's fun. But even the baseball teams, when they play, it's just cool to have. Not every city has that. And I know other cities have some of these big universities, so it's like they have something a little bit different. But there's cities that don't have that. There's cities that don't have that 2 colleges who get to play each other all of the time, and you have this kind of fun little back and forth between the two. And it's even if you don't go to it, being from Jacksonville, it's been fun to watch it grow over especially last decade.
And Coach Driscoll made that joke when he first started at UNF that they asked him about the JU-UNF rivalry, and he's like, rivalry? UNF's never beat JU. Like, how can you have a rivalry when it's that lopsided? And of course, over the last 16 years, UNF has been more successful than JU in that rivalry, certainly. But yeah, he also told a great story about Dallas Moore. So Dallas Moore, one of the best players to ever play at the University of Florida, if not the best. There are a handful of them, right? And Dallas Moore, the leading scorer in all of Florida men's basketball, as far as the D1 level, he was being recruited by Billy Donovan in Florida as well. And Coach Driscoll was like, I cannot I cannot have this guy taking him. Like, I need this guy for the program that we have. And eventually Florida ended up recruiting some more like All-Americans, and UNF obviously then able to get Dallas Moore. But to your point, as far as having both of these schools in town, yes, it's a great athletic rivalry. It's also just really cool to have all these people that we work with really that graduated from UNF and JU too. Yeah. Like Brian, my husband, graduated from UNF. One of our really good friends graduated from JU. And yeah, it's not necessarily the level of Florida State, but it's still fun to like trash talk one another.
Oh yeah, and you see that within our building. Obviously, we have a lot of UNF furs.
The Osprey swoop.
The swoops. But it's fun, and they get excited. And I know that's something I honestly have never been to one of the River City Rumbles, and I need to go every year. I'm like, I've got to go. I've got to go. But next year I'm going because I got to
go to both. Honestly,
yeah. At both schools. Yeah, and that's what everyone says. And I was talking to John O'Leary about it, and he was like, I cannot believe you haven't been to one of these games.
Either.
You would love it. And I was like, I know. I don't know why either. But.
Yeah, they're so different because obviously UNF Arena is much bigger. But when that place is rocking, it's so fun. And then JU Swisher Gymnasium only holds about 1,200 people. So you're talking about like
the intimate.
Yeah,
which you and I love music-wise, so I'm sure.
Exactly. It translates to basketball. All right, so like I mentioned, Coach Kinnan, who has been with Coach Driscoll since 2009, he will take over. Mia O'Brien had a chance to catch up with him a little bit earlier.
You know, the funny thing is, Bobby, you just got done telling the other reporters that you haven't gotten a chance to know a lot of them. We've gotten a chance to know each other here these last few years. I actually was recounting to Frank Frangie yesterday about during COVID how we used to run past each other, and you were like the one human being I would see in my neighborhood, and I would just be like, my mom would be like, did you see Coach Kinnan today? And I'd say, yes, I did see a human. So here we are 5 years later. I mean, if I had told you that this day would come 16 years ago, as you just alluded to, you probably would have thought maybe it comes a little bit sooner, perhaps. But here we are 5 years after that interaction, those interactions on the sidewalk. You are now the head coach of the UNF men's basketball team. When I say that, what does that mean to you?
It's my dream. Like, I've dreamed about this my whole life. I've worked toward it. I've wanted this opportunity, and to do it in a place where, you know, there's a tremendous amount of alignment, you know, with myself and what I believe in and what our administration believes in and what our university believes in and what our community believes in as a whole. I mean, that's a dream come true.
For you, I don't think people realize you were at JU once upon a time.
I was.
You also went to Palm Beach Atlantic to begin your undergrad career, Florida. Walk us through not only your resume, your history, but also what Jacksonville has meant to you along that journey.
Jacksonville has become home. I've lived here. We've lived here 21 of our last 25 years. And when Coach Durham, when I was fortunate enough to be hired with him, I was just a young coach trying to hold on. I was a high school coach for 5 years. I took a job where I had to coach JV and varsity football. I was a varsity boys basketball coach. I coached boys and girls track with no assistants. I was the assistant principal. I ran the dropout prevention program. I did all those things. And then I did something that was crazy at the time, married with 2 children. I took a job at a community college for $7,500 in an apartment. Now, I was offered a job to be a principal at 27 years old. So to be a principal and lead a school in a community, I chose to take a job for $7,500 and bet on myself. From there, fortunate enough to go to Wichita State, and it was an 8-month proposition. We were fired. And here I am, 7 years into the profession, looking for a job, and Jacksonville became home to me. And I actually thought this day was going to come 20 years ago when Coach retired, and it didn't. It must not have been by time. And I tell people all the time, I thought I was ready then, and I know I'm ready now. And I know I'm ready because of what I've gotten from Coach Driscoll. I remember somebody asking me the first game that we coached together, one of the first games, they said, hey, what's the difference? How have you learned? And I said, I don't know what's going to happen today. I have no idea what's going to happen during this game, but I know we're going to be prepared. And Coach has given me that.
For you to sit there and listen to the recounting of 16 years, but the memories, the accomplishments, what does that mean for you now as we look towards the future of UNF basketball?
Well, it is everything. One of the things I've said all the time, I have relationships with players that I coached 32 years ago. We all do. The neatest thing about being here is when you go to a wedding, when somebody's child is born, we're still at the place where they played. And that is so rare. And so then, to see, Bebe Daniels in here and to communicate with Bo and Chris Davenport and all these, and Wajid and just everyone. This truly is a family. Everyone says it, we live it. And there's a huge difference there. It just is. And just the integrity that he's operated with. And I tell this story to recruits all the time. When we recruited Trent Mackey, Trent was a transfer. He'd been through the process before. His dad was the coach. Mom and dad are on the visit. Cheryl went to every single coach on our staff and asked the same question at different times. Separate places, a meal, and she got the same answer from everyone. And again, that is that's who we are. As we've gone through this thing together, as there's been disagreements, as there's been whatever, as there's been consensus, no matter what there's been, when we've walked out the door together, we've done everything that's best for UNF and best for this program, best for this community. And that's what I'm going to continue on with for Coach. That's my responsibility. And not only is my responsibility, it's my privilege and it's my honor.
So now that brings us to, outside of Coach Driscoll departing, what else changes?
Well, right now the goal is to keep our roster intact. I mean, my first order of business is we had a Zoom with the team yesterday, and then immediately after the Zoom, I got on the phone with all 14 guys. The difference in coaching today is they can go in the transfer portal for 30 days, and they're all here. They're all here for an opportunity, and they're all here because they fit. And I just reiterated that together. Not only, do we want you here, we need you here, and we're all here for the same thing. And the challenge right now in coaching is to get those 14 guys together as quickly as we can. We're coming off where we've had 8 new guys, and 7 new guys in 3 years. And in a program that's maintained the consistency that we have, it's very hard to continue to maintain your culture and continue to maintain those things. And I was asked that question about 6 weeks ago by a recruit and his father. Well, when you recruit high character, quality kids, that allows you to keep your culture. It allows you to do that. When you haven't had people who have been here before, to set the example, it's got to be quicker, and it's quicker because you have great kids. I told Mason Lee yesterday, Mason's been here 3 years. He had a red shirt, he's going into his 3rd year. He's our longest tenured guy. 3 years. It's crazy to believe, but we're excited about where we're going. We think we've got as Coach said, we've got the right guys on the bus. We've got the right guys together. Now it's my responsibility to help them get the best out of themselves and to put it together and make sure we're the best version of us. I told them the quicker we can get to us, the better we're going to be.
You mentioned to the other reporters that you had a vision of sorts that this day would come. Walk us through that story.
Well, like I said, I've always dreamed of this moment, and obviously you reflect on this. The spring for a coach is a reflective time. You're always thinking about, what's next, what I need to do to move my next opportunity. I've always wanted to be a head coach. And the best thing that I've probably not done a great job of doing here is coaches prepared me for that. Like, I've done every single thing you can do within a program, and he's given me that responsibility and supported me along the way to be prepared. But a couple years ago, it was May of 2023. I was in West Palm Beach, and I was actually on the edge of the campus of Palm Beach Atlantic where I did my undergrad. And there's Royal Palm Beach Boulevard. It's a mile, and it goes from the campus, which is on the Intercoastal, to the beach. And as a player, I've run that hundreds of times. I've driven to the beach hundreds of times. I've passed it hundreds of times. And sometimes you don't look and you don't see what's around you. And there's a sculpture garden along the way. It's right next to the Palm Beach Primary. I used to play on the outdoor courts. And I go in there, I walk in there, and I'm walking through and looking, and there was a statue. And it was called Passing the Torch, and it was actually in 1953. Because I shared the picture with Coach yesterday, and there's a man on the ground who obviously is exhausted, has given everything he has, and he's lifting and he's handing the torch to a person on the horse. And I said at that time, I took the picture and I saved it in my phone and actually put it on my favorites. And I said, this is Coach. I don't know when he's going to leave. I don't know how he's going to leave, but I do know this. He's going to give every single thing he's had till he has nothing left to give, and we get to the very end, and hopefully I'm the person that can carry on his legacy. And yesterday, as we were talking, after the Zooms finished up, I had never shared that with him. I shared it with him yesterday, and it was a very emotional moment for us. And it's just, and my thing is, and some of these things with this opportunity for me, and I shared a similar story with Nick, but on a different thing. Like, sometimes the most obvious things and the simple things are right in front of us, and we never see them. And that's how I want to approach this opportunity for me as a coach. Like, I'm to lead this program. I'm ready. I'm excited. I can't wait to do it. And I just hope when it gets down to it, it's going to be like, man, the obvious choice has been right in front of you the whole time.
Ready to take the torch.
Absolutely.
Bobby, we've done a lot of interviews in our day, a lot of informal conversations too, and here we are looking forward to many more ahead this next year. Absolutely. And beyond.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to lead this program and to have the responsibility and the honor, more importantly than anything else. Thank you.
Great job by Mia catching up with Coach Kinnan after the Coach Driscoll press conference. Taylor, I'll leave people with these two things. I can tell you Coach Driscoll departs as the winningest head coach in, of course, UNF history, but also ASUN conference history. Wow. But here's the bigger one to me, the bigger thing. North Florida, under his leadership, North Florida graduated every student athlete that exhausted eligibility.
Love that.
If that's not a hot tip, I don't know what is. We will be back with more Mia on her way as well. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
I'm Doug Flutie from Boston College.
Throws it down.
And this is 1010XL.
Caught by Boston College. I don't believe it. Oh. It's a touchdown. The Eagles win it.
Lee and Kate's Class, Friday on Helmets and Heels. Now, the Florida Gator Report on 1010XL, brought to you by San Jose Collision.
Florida center Ruben Chinyulu, who started all 40 games for the Gators' national championship season, announced he would be withdrawing his name from the NBA draft to return to the Gators for his junior season to defend a national championship. Adding to that, Coach Todd Golden struck big in the portal this week, landing 5-star transfer guard out of Arkansas Boogie Fland, who averaged 13.5 points and 5.1 assists in his freshman season.
It's May, and that means it's Founders Month here at Sonny's Barbecue. Every Wednesday, we're celebrating with $7 pork big deal served with a sidekick and a drink, or one of our pork and rib combos for just $11. It's our way of saying thanks for letting us be your local pitmasters. So stop in for great deals on the Q you crave. Founders Month specials at Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
Hayes Carline here. If you're shopping for a new ride, you've got to check out Atlantic Infinity. Not only do you get a luxury vehicle, you also get the Atlantic Infinity Promise Free with every new car. That's almost $2,500 in added value just for buying smarter, and you don't have to sweat it out on the lot. Shop in their indoor, climate-controlled showrooms. It's cool, comfortable, hassle-free. They're on Atlantic near St. John's Bluff, or browse anytime at AtlanticInfinity.com.
Hi, folks. It's Frank Frangie. Look, when it comes to glass needs around the home, there's one name I trust, Lee and Kate's Glass. Those beautiful custom glass shower enclosures, maybe a new mirror, a glass tabletop. They can even replace your foggy or cracked glass without having to replace the whole window. Lee and Kate's is local. They're family-owned. They've been a part of our community since 1926. Boy, they've taken care of me, including our brand new offices at Walk Off Charities. They did a great job. I promise they'll do the same for you. Visit leeandkatesglass.com.
Hey, poker players, the Poker Atlas Tour is back at Best Bet St. Augustine from June 5th to June 15th. The Poker Atlas Tour features 7 events, including Event 1, a $300 no-limit hold'em tournament with a $100,000 guarantee, and the $600 no-limit hold'em title event with a $200,000 guaranteed prize pool. Satellites start May 17th. For more details, visit bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com.
Need protection? Call Craig and Christine Kaprosky at Goosehead Insurance. The Kaproskys are a husband-wife team committed to finding you the right coverage at the right price in just a few short minutes. For home, auto, flood, or specialty insurance, Craig and Christine Kaprosky are the answer. Craig.Kaprosky at Goosehead.com.
Get tips from PGA pros on Brunch with the Tour with Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser. Tuesday morning at 8:30. Teed up by Clearwater Irrigation and Apex Roofing and Contracting. Brunch provided by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
Rick Ballou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental with light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, 2 locations in Jacksonville.
It's tune-up time, and Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars, wants to partner with you for a cool summer season. Tune up your AC unit right now so it's running at peak performance when you need it most. Just call 777-4300 and order a tune-up for just $59. Keep your unit humming at optimal level. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com and take advantage of their savings. Keep cool with Florida Home AC. That's 777-4300.
Been in a car crash? I'm local attorney Rick Alexander, and I've made it our mission at the Alexander Law Practice to listen to you so I can fight for the best possible result for you. I've been practicing over 30 years, and our team focuses on guiding you through the entire process. And because fees and reimbursement costs come out at the end of the case, I will never ask you to come out of pocket. For a free review, call 904-400-6600 or log on to alexanderlawpractice.com, Jacksonville.
Electrical problems? Call American Electrical Contracting. 737-7770. Small jobs or large, they do them all. Work with a locally owned and operated company that will wire it right at a fair price. It's not just a slogan, it's the way they do business.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code OWN to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code OWN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code OWN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
We go together, better than birds of a feather, you and me.
Mia O'Brien has joined us on this wonderful Friday afternoon. Mia, Coach Driscoll shared a ton in that hour that he spoke following, of course, the
I should have placed money on the over. I'm not going to lie. Not that I'm a betting gal, but in terms of how long our good friend, Coach Matthew Driscoll, would go on his opening statement at his farewell press conference.
What do you think it would have been set at?
32. It went 58.
So
I would never have bet 32. I would have always taken the over.
No,
always.
Yeah.
I've known Coach Driscoll for over 10 years.
Oh,
I just thought
he can talk a little bit.
Right. Like he could have been a pastor, honestly, had he not decided to become
or
a
motivational
coach.
speaker.
Well, our good friend
Sure.
Caitlin Parsons with the ASUN office joked with me as we did wrap up with the formal podium portion. She was like, "What? You didn't think we were going to church? Like this is church. Church is in session." And she was absolutely right. So shout out to Caitlin.
I love Caitlin. Caitlin worked with me, technically for me because I was the director and she was the assistant director, but honestly, Caitlin knew more about college athletics because her dad was an athletic director for years. And so really we worked together. I'll say, like I said, she knew more than I did about all that stuff. But yeah, it was, I thought it was really emotional. I'm so glad that I had tissues in my purse because I knew it would be, but also Coach Driscoll just had a lot to share about everything that he's put into this program, the entire staff, and we enjoyed your interview with Coach Kinnan as well.
Thank you. Yes. And you know, obviously as someone who's gotten the chance to call a lot of their games over the last 6 years and certainly also being on the payroll with the leadership department as well, which that's the other part of this. I didn't want to say it publicly, but now that I've told her personally, I feel like I can. Mrs. Driscoll was actually in Italy with some of my students in the Taylor Leadership Institute with Dr. Olson for the last 10 days. So when the news dropped yesterday, which I had no idea that this was coming, this was very much kept tight-lipped and behind the scenes, which is the way it should be done because as Coach Driscoll said, the UNF is going to continue, and under Bobby's leadership, the ship is largely just going to stay right on. The train's going to stay on the tracks. But that was the first thing I thought is, oh my God, this Carrie does know, right? Like someone, and so she did tell me they were getting on the plane, and she knew it was coming, and she hadn't told a soul. And so, midair, and
people started finding out.
People started texting from different parts of the place. So I felt so bad for our friend Carrie and Carrie Driscoll, and that's part of why I was a little bit late. So appreciate you guys rolling off and getting the show off the tracks without me.
Yeah, I felt that I had to leave during the question and answer part just because, I had to, come do crosstalk, all those fun things. But I think what's interesting is that Coach Driscoll told everyone that Nick Morrow, the athletic director, gave him a 2-year extension.
Yep.
And then it was just on his heart to decide what he wanted to do for his future. And so Kansas State taking the associate head coach position there, his son joining him as well.
Correct. And that's
what they wanted to do.
Yeah. Right. And that's, and that's what, just in my conversations with a lot of folks as I was walking out of the campus, that truly was, there were too many signs for them of the fact that there were two positions, the fact that this was an opportunity for Chase Driscoll to elevate his coaching career, to also be on staff with someone who, as Coach Driscoll did say in that Q&A portion, Lauren, like he said, Jerome Tang was a high school coach. So was Coach Mills. Scott Drew was 31 years old when they took over that Baylor program in 2003. And yes, as Coach Driscoll put it, in case you missed it, they took over a murder, which he's not wrong. There has never been a basketball program that has been taken over amidst controversy and complete ground zero, quite like what Scott Drew and Matthew Driscoll inherited in 2003.
Which is kind of crazy because the football program has also gone through a lot of controversy as well.
Notice I said basketball, not football. Maybe a Baylor thing, nothing against Baylor, but point being that now we look up, we put our heads up and we look 23 years removed from that. And Jerome Tang is the head coach at Kansas State. Scott Drew is still at Baylor. Paul Mills is at Wichita State. Certainly Matthew Driscoll just led UNF for 16 years. And so I think that there's a lot of great people in that coaching tree. I have confidence that, number one, Matthew's going to continue, as he said, to pour into the student athletes that come through that program. But number two, because Bobby Kennan, because Stephen Perkins, because Bruce Evans are all part of that tree, I'm very confident that they will continue to push this operation here in Jacksonville along the lines. And again, the proof is in the pudding of what these coaches, what that family has been able to do over the last 2 decades.
Yeah. Did Kansas State just call and be like, we want the Driscolls?
No. So there's a whole story there. I won't share it completely because I don't know if we'll ever, know exactly how it came to be. But this is something that, and Coach Driscoll did share this in the Q&A, this was something, and this part I think we can share. Kansas State's been a very interesting operation since Jerome Tang got there. In 2023, his first season at the helm, much like Bobby Kennan, he had to wait 2 decades to become a head coach at the Division I level. And so he gets the Kansas State job, takes over. There were 2 guys left on the roster. They go all the way to the Elite Eight. They have this magical run of a bunch of ragtag guys, including one Keontae Johnson, formerly of the Florida Gators. And then, because there was such investment in the Wildcats basketball program, the NIL budget grows. Mm-hmm. They bring in a lot of pretty highly sought-after transfers, and it didn't work.
Prima donnas.
And it didn't work. And Coach Driscoll shared during the Q&A portion that Jerome Tang called Mrs. Driscoll in addition to calling Matthew. And he said, he's like, I don't need someone who's going to be getting guys that are, dropping bags and luring on a recruiting pitch. I just need help. I need help running my program. And I think that really spoke volumes. Yeah. And Coach Driscoll said that it did. This idea of it's his old friend who wants to bring the culture back to Manhattan, the one that he thought he had 2 years ago. Yeah. And maybe before that train goes completely off the tracks, he wants to bring in somebody to help establish that baseline again.
Coach Kinnan was named the interim head coach. I would imagine that if UNF has some success this year, he'll be named the full-time head coach at that point in time, maybe a year from now, maybe during the season. We shall see. But yeah, lots of UNF basketball that we have discussed today. Let's get it to the Jacksonville Jaguars. On the other side, you are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Launch the downloads.
Join the 1010XL Podcast Network.
And initiate sequence.
Now you can find all your favorite 1010XL podcasts in your platform of choice. You're locked into a Lee and Kate's Glass Friday on Helmets and Heels.
When it comes to your utility bill, JEA wants to help you use less so you can save more. We offer a variety of free programs, like efficiency and irrigation assessments that'll teach you ways to conserve energy and water around your home. Our alerts will let you know when your utility usage has reached a set amount, and our rebates can help you save when upgrading to more efficient appliances and equipment. Find even more ways to save at JEA.com.
Get this. Joey and me were supposed to go to this concert next week, right? But then something terrible happened. Joey was driving without a seatbelt. But he didn't wreck. No, he got pulled over. Now Joey has to pay for a seatbelt ticket instead of a concert ticket, and I have to go by myself. How lame is that? So Joey, if you're out there, you're an idiot. Wear your seatbelt or you'll get a ticket.
All across the country, cops are cracking down. Click it or ticket, day and night.
Funded by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Mia here for Closets by Design. It's been a few months since they built my custom closet. You know I love it. My family loves it. Everyone at 1010 thinks it's so darn cool. With summer here, why not finally create your custom garage workspace, huh? I got you, boys. Think tool storage, work benches, flooring, and a place for everything. Closets by Design creates custom solutions for every space, lifestyle, and budget. It's not just bedroom closets. Call to schedule your free in-home consultation and receive 40% off plus an additional 15% off. 1-800-293-3744 or visit closetsbydesign.com.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Here you can see.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
Where does Northeast Florida buy cars? Arlington Toyota. Mia here. Why Arlington? Selection. Arlington has over 800 new and used vehicles in one location with everyday low prices. Over 350 SUVs, one location. Over 175 trucks, one location. Over 275 cars, one location. And guess what? There's more on the way. Here's 60 more reasons. Arlington's 60-day exchange program. It's so simple. If you don't like your purchase, bring it on back within 60 days and exchange it for another one. Here's even more reasons why you choose a pre-owned 2023 Camry RAV4 Tacoma for $0 down and just $388 per month. You could even choose no payments till January 2026. You heard that right. No payments until January 2026 at Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned. Now you know why you need to buy from Arlington. Shop in person on Atlantic Boulevard, just a quarter mile east of 295, or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com.
We're certainly facing interesting economic times. For me, it's comforting to know my money's in good hands with ITP Partners. Jacksonville guys taking care of my Jacksonville money. Experience? Yeah, that's Chris Bryan, Jeff Hartman, Reagan Wright, Dan Abel, Scott Regner, Janice Cobb, and Reed Wingate. They have the expertise and knowledge to take care of your money. For more info, go to itppartners.com. ITP Partners, they're my financial partners for life.
Non-compensated client testimonial may not be representative of all client experiences. No guarantee of future performance or success.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On May 23rd, 2021, at the PGA Championships, Phil Mickelson made history by becoming the oldest major winner at age 50, securing his 6th major title.
New year, new club. This is Joe C., and I'm proud to be a member of Southampton. And with the popularity of golf, getting a tee time is tough. But with membership comes member privileges. Enjoy clubhouse dining, expanded practice area, focusing on all parts of your game. And right now, you can join with an annual commitment and get a $1,000 discount, plus $500 of Pro Shop credit. All the details are online at golfsouthampton.com or call 287-PLAY and make a tee time today at the Golf Club of Southampton.
Hey, Hicken here, and you know I'm going to talk about skin. Yeah, it's hot outside, folks. The oven is on. Temps are in the 90s, and it's only getting hotter. I love the summer, but my skin doesn't. I do my best with dry-fit shirts, big floppy hats, plenty of water. My secret weapon, though, the screen, sunscreen. I use it regularly. Maybe you should as well. Look, I've also been seeing docs at Beaches Dermatology for years, and my skin thanks me for it. I'm telling you, it could save your life. Book your appointment today at beachesdermatology.com.
No matter what the reason, sending a floral arrangement from Kuhn Flowers always works. For unique and special gifts, visit their showroom on Beach Boulevard. Dylan Denmark here with 1010XL. Kuhn Flowers is my go-to and should be yours. Online at kuhnflowers.com.
Jacksonville, Hickens calling it. Checkmate Coating, my MVP. Tough, slick floors that dominate any space.
Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
By the way, as we continue the show, we're going to talk some Jaguars. I know there are a lot of Florida fans out there, so good news right now. Florida up on Georgia 5-0. Florida hit a 3-run bomb earlier and just hit a 2-run home run. So Florida does lead the Georgia Bulldogs there in Gainesville in the Super Regional 5-0. Keep you updated on that throughout the show. So OTA number 4 is Tuesday at the Miller Electric Center. After practice, we will hear from head coach Liam Cohen, defensive coordinator Anthony Campanelli, and defensive end Trayvon Walker. Mia, I don't know if you'll be there for the Campanelli press conference. Okay, great. I need to literally know, is it Campanile?
I will get to the bottom of it because Coach Camp, if you're listening right now, I've relayed the message through a couple different channels. We've promised a selfie to our mutual friend Mike Quick, so I've got to make sure that I find my way to A, debunk the pronunciation.
Right. Say anything.
And
I don't
B,
care.
right, and then B, to also get some shout outs to Quick. So.
I think he just tries to simplify it for people to make it easier, which I think most people, Campanelli is easier, so he goes with that. But because the one, he was like, either way, you can say it however you want. I'm
But
like,
I
that's
need
not
to
how your
know.
last name is.
Correct. Like,
If
Dole
people are calling
O'Brien.
me Dole, I'd be like, no, that's wrong.
Exactly. All right, so let's get it to Tony Baselli, the Jaguars EVP. He was on the EVP podcast with senior writer John Ogier on Jaguars.com, and he discussed bringing in Fred Taylor, of course, the legendary running back, and other legends to talk to this crop of rookies.
But to me, it was really important to have Fred Taylor here. One of, if not the greatest Jaguar of all time, who played the game the right way. Was, in my mind, a guy that you would put up in front of anybody and say, this is what a Jaguar is. Tough, competitive.
Passionate, cares about the organization.
Learned how to be a pro from the time he was a rookie and became one of the best pros. And grew. And I said, who better than Fred Taylor to have sit in front of our rookies and talk about what it meant to be a pro in this league, but also what it meant to be a Jaguar.
And they were probably pretty quiet when he was talking.
Yeah, and that's a guy with a lot of wisdom.
Yeah.
And he's been from where he grew up and going to Florida and coming here as a first rounder and the growth he had. People don't remember he didn't win the starting job until James Stewart got hurt, and then took advantage of his opportunity, became the greatest running back ever in this franchise and one of the best to ever play in the NFL. So I felt like it was important. The dinner was important for them to sit with, a more intimate setting with guys and eating dinner. But I wanted them to hear.
He had a lot of good attendance for that, right?
We did.
From the alumni.
We did, and I appreciate our alumni coming, and they did a great job. But most important for me was Fred Taylor being able to sit there and say, and not only for them to hear the words he was speaking and feel his presence, but to see an individual that really, I think, embodies what it means to be a Jacksonville Jaguar.
Well said, Tony.
Yeah, so for me, a couple reasons why I thought it was really important for everyone who hasn't had a chance to listen to that podcast yet to hear that. I've been on air full-time, 3+ years, something like that, doing the midday show. The number of Heeligans, the number of Nooners who have texted in and have demanded, Leon Searcy, former Jaguars, you need to go speak to the players. Well, I present to you Tony Baselli, your one Hall of Famer in your franchise's history, now in the driver's seat and ensuring that perhaps the second greatest Jaguar of all time is at the forefront, let alone the fact that Laura and many other Jaguars legends also were a part of that dinner format, but also speaking with players. And by the way, the Jaguars throughout my 6+ years here have consistently had alumni back, maybe not at the rates that some would like, not in this format, which I think is a extremely positive development, because let's be real, I don't care what part of the country you're from. There's a podcast called The Pivot that if you're a sports fan, even if you didn't watch the Jaguars of the late 90s, early 2000s, there's a good chance you know who Fred Taylor is. And I think it carries weight for these rookies. It carries weight for these rookies, let alone Fred's story of how he came into the league and how he has evolved now into, dare I say, a media mogul himself.
Right. Fred Taylor, for people who don't know, wasn't necessarily comfortable with media when he first got to town, even though he certainly did some media when he was at Florida, but it was different in those days too. And so there is a lot to learn when it comes to talking with reporters like Mia and Rick and Hacker and Hayes, all the guys that, and women obviously, that talk to these guys after practice. And there are certain things you're supposed to say, certain things you're not supposed to say. So I think it's great that Fred shared all that. But I also think it's important, like Tony said, a different type of setting. We all learn a lot more going to dinner with someone than if just one person was on the podium, right? With all the back and forth that you can share. And we know James Gladstone loves that. They don't like to have formal meetings. They like to have informal water cooler type of conversations.
Yeah, and I think someone like Fred Taylor, I mean, the NFL Twitter on Tuesday just made a post about Fred Taylor, and they said if life gives you Fred Taylor, you make Fred Taylor Tuesday. People love Fred. I mean, they love him as a player. They love him on the field, and he's an even better person. We've said that twice now about people, but it's true, because I think a big thing with Fred, too, is that with this Pivot podcast, which they do, obviously, former players, current players, all sorts of deep stories that they get into. And I think that for somebody talking to a team about not only the football, but the life side and the lifestyle side and how to balance football in your world, it's not easy to do. And I do think that something like that is probably what these kids need. They're coming out of college where now we're in this world where they're getting paid very young, a lot of money, and then they get into the NFL and are pretty quickly asked a lot of. And I mean, there's several draft picks from this year that we're counting on being big pieces of the starting offense or potentially being starters. And so I do think that Fred, from his experience of winning over that, of taking over that starting spot, his trajectory, his career, and then now what he's doing after, really does benefit a lot of these guys when it comes to on and off the football field, which I think is really important.
Yeah, and competition. We talk all the time about this. Jaguars brass wants competition at every spot. Fred Taylor knows all about competition, whether it was college or the pros. Yes, eventually he became the full-time starter, but he had to battle to get there. And so, yeah, I thought that was great. All right, Tony Baselli, also asked by John Ogier, does trading up for Travis Hunter say you're just one player away?
I don't believe you're ever a player away.
Right.
I think that's a
talking head
I
cliche.
think that's a misnomer.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate team sport. You got 11 guys on offense, better be all on the same page, and we say it a lot about a lot of things, but the the sum of the parts is greater than the individual in football. And so I don't think it says anything. I think what it says is we felt like Travis Hunter made us a better team,
right?
More than anyone else we could get in this draft. And whatever we had to give up for him was well worth it.
Gotcha.
I think that's all I would take from it. Doesn't speak to where we think or don't think we are.
Find that out in September. Right.
I mean, I got a lot of thoughts that I'll keep to myself of where we are and what I believe, because it doesn't really matter until we go out in the field and prove it. We all the talk. We can talk about what we want to do and what we're going to do and what type of team we're building and all that. And we have a vision, and Liam has a clear vision of what he wants to do, and James has a strategy of how we're going to execute that. End of the day, got to go do it on the grass, and that's what we will all be judged on: players, coaches, front office.
Thank the good Lord he had that answer. When you guys texted that in the group chat, I was like, oh my gosh, no, a team that won 4 games last year is not a player away. But I do think, if anything, too, and I love the way how he went into it being more, because you're not saying like this team's absolutely terrible. He's saying no team is 1 player away. The Kansas City Chiefs probably left the Super Bowl and are like, we've got to fix this offensive line. We cannot let that happen to Patrick Mahomes again. And they have multiple Super Bowls already, and they're still saying they need to upgrade positions and get better at positions. So the best of the best are still trying to improve, and that is the problem with past regimes here. Is I do feel like they got kind of complacent and comfortable sometimes and didn't keep trying to get better because they felt like what they had was good enough. But I think that somebody like Tony Boselli, and obviously James Gladstone is this way, and Liam Cohen, they always feel like you can improve, and they feel like things can get better all the time. And if you look at just this draft, yeah, you trade up for Travis Hunter, who was the best player in this draft to a lot of people, and then you go and you're talking about you're probably counting on a Caleb Ransaw as a starter, possibly a Milam as a starter, possibly a Tootin as a big piece of that run game. Kaiser. There's a lot of guys that are going to be making a big impact on this roster right away. So no, the Travis Hunter does not mean that 1 player, because you drafted several who are going to be part of this offense.
Absolutely.
Or defense.
Yeah. Mia, the Chiefs, you know what they did in the draft? Offensive tackle, defensive tackle, defensive end.
Yeah.
Because they looked at the team that had just whooped their butts in the Eagles and said, we have to improve the trenches, which is, I think, a lot of Jaguars fans were thinking that's what their draft was going to look like.
But also part of that for the Kansas City Chiefs is this idea of, at different junctures over the last 5 years, because they have Patrick Mahomes, they've said, whatever, who cares if it's a turnstile at left tackle? Who cares if it's Joe Thuney having to kick out to left tackle because he's a future Hall of Famer? It's fine. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. But who cares if Tyreek goes to Miami? We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you have to say, okay, we will figure it out, but we have to keep throwing darts and resources. We can't just sit back on our laurels and say, well, we have Patrick Mahomes and you don't.
Yeah.
Yes, that's reality, but guess what? It's gotten them beat in 2 Super Bowls. So I would say that as much as it's...
And very badly recently.
Right. As much as it's a byproduct of what happened in February, Lauren, I also think, look, they tried to roll the dice last year and said, you know what? We're just going to Band-Aid free agent fix. Kingsley Suamateo will compete. It'll be fine. And it wasn't.
Yep.
It's that simple. And then as to the defensive front, a lot of that was just guys who, quite frankly, their contract was up. And this is what the Chiefs have built around Chris Jones. We'll just bring the next guy in. We'll draft the next guy. We'll have him for 4 years. He'll go make a lucrative deal somewhere else. We'll get a comp pick back maybe. And then we keep this thing rolling.
And we learned the Jaguars liked that Chiefs defensive end in Gilletti.
Oh, no. Oh, Ashton Gillette. Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Well, when you said defensive end, I was like, wait a second. Edge rusher. Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Yeah. I always say defense, or I feel like
I thought you were talking about like Mike Dana or one of the guys they let walk. That's why I was like, look at you. I'm like, I'm like, they wanted him in free agency. They had 9 guys and they got the 9 guys they wanted, but okay, cool.
Yeah. I always say defensive end. I almost never say outside linebacker unless the scheme calls for it. And yeah, to your point, edge is the easiest thing to say. All right, Taylor, Cam Ward and Travis Hunter, have they been already jawing at each other?
Oh, yes. This is 100% of what I would expect. If you saw any of the clips from between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders in the offseason, you can tell Cam Ward is that personality. And obviously Travis Hunter is. I love Travis Hunter's just smiley, fun personality, but I love that he chirps back at people. And we've talked about, Jarian talked about, we need more of those type of guys. And I do feel like we have more of those now, which makes me very excited.
All right, so here is Cam Ward and Travis Hunter in the locker room at the NFLPA rookie premiere.
I hate to be a Jacksonville Jaguars. We don't want you. We don't want you. Listen, you still your team. They said they're trying to get rid of you. You know already. Quarterbacks that much. You said what? You know they don't like quarterbacks that much. Who? They only got you because they have to. Nah, Tennessee love.
So if you couldn't hear it, Cam Ward said, "I'd hate to be a Jacksonville Jaguar," and Travis Hunter said, "Well, we didn't want you anyway." And then Hunter
Which
was
is
like,
true.
Yeah. And then Hunter was like, "Well, they didn't really want a quarterback. They don't really like you. They just had to get you." So yeah, the back and forth is glorious. I do think we have that Jags Titans like back to almost, because both teams haven't been all that good.
Yeah.
And they've been good at, I feel like, different times. But I feel like that rivalry, it could be headed in the, I say right direction, back to where both teams are better and you really hate them.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day because when we were talking about the stretch that the Colts had where I said the number yesterday, like 7 of 10 they won at one of the AFC South, they won at one point. And the last 15, the Texans have won more than half of those, which is so weird because I feel like it's for so long was Colts, and we felt like, to me, I thought the Titans were in it a lot more at that time, in those periods of time, but they just never really had a quarterback. They had Derrick Henry, and so that obviously
and Deshaun Watson was good once upon a time.
Yeah, that's true. I honestly forget about him, but I just, as I was looking at that, I was like, you want it to get back, and we talked about this a lot. Is this Texans Jags rivalry growing even more? And I do think that a lot of teams have like their main, and then they kind of have that side rivalry that's that next, and the Texans to me is that right now, but it's grown because especially the way CJ Stroud kind of runs his mouth and things like that. But then now you add this fun little banter, and it does feel like that Titans one will, especially if Cam Ward ends up being decent and you have these two teams that are competitive and having good games again that are exciting, that adds to it automatically.
I don't know if there's a team that, and obviously it's because it's the all-important quarterback position, I don't know if there's a team that hinges more on one player and one rookie like the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's probably an obvious statement, but we did on Duval Rundown this morning. Shout out to our friend Will Parkinson for joining me of the All 32 podcast. We did of the teams that picked in the top 10. And yes, I understand those hooligans who were in the comments, and they're like, well, the Jags can't go from worst to first because they weren't worst in their division. They were third. They picked second overall, people. Come on now. Let's take a deep breath here.
Well, they were scheduled to pick fifth. Behind the Titans.
They picked in the top 10, Lauren. Point being, which team in the top 10 has the best odds to them win their division? And so to that point, I said one of my 3 teams who I said I believe has the best chance is the Jaguars, but that's not even so much by virtue of what they've done and what they've added, but also the road they have playing in the AFC South. Same argument can be made for the Carolina Panthers, but the same argument can be made for the Tennessee Titans if they hit on Cam Ward.
Look at the Commanders with a rookie quarterback. And yes, most people would say the Commanders were better than the Titans as the starting point when Jaden Daniels was drafted there. But still, in one season, to have the success they did to be able to actually play in the NFC Championship game with a rookie quarterback, you almost never see that. And so I'm obviously not hoping that's what Tennessee does.
Right.
I hope they lose every game. But it is interesting to see what Cam Ward can do for them.
I also think when you go through those top 10 teams, the Titans, as we've talked about it here, and from the Jaguars side of how winnable the division looks like at this point. And I'm sure the Titans are saying the same thing. I'm sure the Texans are saying the same thing. Probably even the Colts. They're all like, hey, we have a division that is very winnable. You could possibly win it with 9-10 wins. Go do it. And so we say that, but I'm sure all 3 other teams are having that conversation.
You're not wrong. And it's both a disappointing fact check if you're Lauren, because she's all in on the Washington Commanders, but also it's a reality fact check for so many in the AFC South. When we always talk about worst to first, right? The team that finished last place in their division, then they go on to win the division.
Yeah, this year the likelihood is the 49ers, if you're looking at
correct. And that's what we said on the podcast this morning. But here's the fact check. 20 of the last 23 seasons we have had in the National Football League between the 8 divisions, we've had that occur. It did not happen in 2024, this past season. It did not happen in 2019. The last 2 times it's happened, the Houston Texans in the AFC South in 2023 and the Jacksonville Jaguars in the AFC South in 2022. So that's the reason I picked the Jags, just because recency suggests that it could be a team from the South, whether that's the Titans or if we want to include the Jags in that conversation. But unfortunately, Lauren, the Washington Commanders, I guess, did not finish in the last place spot in their division. So despite the fact that they went all the way to the NFC Championship game, which doesn't make sense because they picked second. I agree with you.
They were 4th in the division in 2023.
Yeah, I don't know why, but the history books that I looked up on NFL.com said that in 2024 they did not have a team do it, which didn't make sense to me. So maybe because they were tied.
They didn't win the division, did they?
They were Commanders were last.
That's what it was. The Eagles, that's what it was. So they were.
If you're talking about one of the worst to one of the best.
Yeah.
We'll
Right,
say
and that's
that.
what I said. I was like, this is like unfair because it really was a worst to first, even if they didn't win the division.
Good
Yeah.
call,
Like
Taylor.
going from last in the division to winning
It was like I looked
playoff
up
games is
Yeah.
probably
I looked at
The
NFL.com.
Eagles. That was the problem. In that division, they had the Eagles. By the way, Florida added a run, so it is now 6-0 in the top of the 6. For people who don't know, softball plays 7 innings, so hopefully this one's going to be done soon. We've got more to do on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Sometimes it's larger than life.
What do they got in there? King Kong?
1010XL. Extra large radio.
Is there anything else you want to show me?
The joys of home ownership. Until the plumbing backs up, the AC goes out, or your septic system decides to act up. The good news? You don't have to call 3 different companies when things go wrong. Just call my friends at Duck Duck Rooter. They're your one-stop shop for plumbing, septic, and air conditioning, all under one roof. So whether it's a leak, a clog, or your system just won't cool, they've got you covered too. Don't take my word for it. Check out their 5-star reviews on Google. From the moment you call to the moment the tech solves your issue, you will receive first-class service every step of the way. Give them a ring at 904-862-6769 or visit duckduckrooter.com. Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. One call does it all.
Lee and Kate's Glass Friday. Guaranteed greatness since 1926.
Hello, all you Jacksonville sports fans. Don here from Taco Lou. If you're in the mood for some great tacos, cold Dos Equis, maybe even a sip of some fine tequila, then the Lou is calling your name. Come out to Jack's Beach and experience what many have dubbed the #1 taco in the 904. There are plenty of great taco joints in town, and we're proud to have been around for this long, and we have only you, the fine people of Jacksonville, to thank for helping us grow and become who we are today. Cheers to you, Jacksonville, and thank you from the Lou crew. Taco Lou in Jacksonville Beach.
Joe C for Preferred Roofing, reminding you your roof is more than just felt and shingles. It's a system that not only keeps your home dry, but also impacts your heating and cooling bills. Preferred Roofing and Construction is a GAF Master Elite roofing contractor lauded for having the ability to educate and inform homeowners on their options. Why GAF and Preferred Roofing? They're veteran-owned and operated with ties to Duval for decades. A family business ready to make sure your family has a good roof over its head. Log on, preferredroofingjacks.com.
Are your monthly bills keeping you up at night, wondering how you got so behind? Hey, I'm Roger Moore, CEO of Loan Pronto. I get it. Life is expensive now. Insurance, groceries, cars. And then there's the credit card debt with those obscene interest rates. It's time to regain your financial freedom. And that's what we offer at Loan Pronto, using the power of the equity in your home. We have multiple ways to get you the cash you need, and most clients close in 2 weeks or less, and many don't even require an appraisal. And listen, rates have been plummeting recently. We just locked a homeowner in with an APR in the low 5s, saving her over $1,000 per month, and put $10,000 in her pocket. Life-changing money. Whether you're drowning in debt, have a nosebleed rate you got last year, need home improvements, or simply need cash in your pocket, we can help you accomplish this goal in record time. Call us today and get started with no hard credit pull, just a conversation. LoanPronto.com, 904-999-1508. LoanPronto.com. That's LoanPronto.com.
Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville. You're on-road, you're off-road, now you're on the water. Greg, tell everybody what Coach and Honda is offering in the form of boats.
We've got the Honda boat, which is a great runabout fisherman. We've got the Coach boats. They're fantastic for getting out with a family. Nice lay-down beds, all with that legendary Honda motor on.
Check them all out. They're waiting for you. You can see how you can be on the water with Honda or with Coach pontoon boats. Cycles of Jacksonville on Atlantic near Regency.
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
This Memorial Day, Navy Mutual would like to salute Bobby Jones. Jones joined the Army Air Forces during World War II. He left the service as a lieutenant colonel and became one of the most famous golfers ever, even co-founding the Masters.
Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast,
honest and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Hacker here, and let's talk sincerity. You know, there's a big difference between someone tossing you a casual, hey, how you doing, and genuinely asking, no, really, how are you doing? At Awaken 180, I felt that sincerity every single week while dropping 122 pounds, and I still feel it every month in free maintenance for life. Sure, seeing that number plunge on the scale was incredible, but what truly pushed me across the goal line? My amazing Awaken 180 coaches. They coached me up like I was prepping for draft day, always in my corner, sincerely invested in my success, and check this out. I'm going on a cruise in a couple of weeks, complete with formal night. Now, normally, cameras and I have a strained relationship. I hated taking pictures, but thanks to Awaken 180, the camera and I have made peace. No more ducking photos. Want results you can actually keep? Do what we all did and call 844-346-1800 or book online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Are you ready to play this summer? At the First Coast YMCA, we're committed to being your home for health and wellness and a place for friendly competition with team sports for adults and for kids. Basketball, volleyball, pickleball, flag football, soccer. The Y has something for everyone at any age. Discover all the benefits of YMCA membership and find your fun this summer at the Y. Registration for team sports and summer camps is open now. Visit fcymca.org.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update brought to you by Duck Duck Rooters Septic Plumbing and Air Conditioning. Florida State Baseball takes the field starting their 2025 ACC tournament run today as the number 2 seed facing 7th-seeded Duke in the quarterfinals at 3 o'clock at the Durham Bulls Athletic Park in North Carolina. The Seminoles earned the number 2 seed with a 17-10 conference record, marking their highest seeding since 2014. They'll send junior ace Jamie Arnold to the mound to start the game. Duke advanced to the quarterfinals after a 4-3 win over Pittsburgh. The winner of today's game will face the winner of the North Carolina versus Boston College matchup in the semifinals on Saturday. Last night, the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp fell to the Memphis Redbirds 5-3 at the VyStar Ballpark, marking their second consecutive loss in the 6-game series. Game 4 of the series will take place tonight with first pitch at 7:05. It's 87 degrees at 101. Time in Temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
I'll never forget the name of that band.
I know, it's easy to remember.
Yeah, super easy.
God bless America. God bless our troops.
And gentlemen,
start
your engines. Absolutely, I love that. Yeah, I learned a few years ago, you're not really supposed to say Happy Memorial Day. Because
it's tough. Yeah.
You're supposed to be honoring the fallen soldiers who sacrificed everything for us to have freedom. But I don't really know how else to say it. Like, enjoy
the holiday.
Yeah, right?
Enjoy the 3-day weekend, but also we have a 3-day weekend because of people who sacrificed their lives for us.
Exactly. So in the end, what we'll say is just like, thank you on this Memorial Day. That's to me, that's the best way to say it. All right. So I found out this week that, and I'm not going to say any names because that would certainly reveal something, but someone that I grew up with, went to school with until she went to Notre Dame, I went to Florida.
Go Irish.
Right? She hosted a certain golfer during the Masters who, I don't know, won the career Grand Slam.
What do you mean hosted?
Like, Rory used this person's house.
Oh, okay. Now we're talking.
Like, literally, like, you know, when, especially during the Players, too, some people will rent their houses out to golfers.
So she rented her house out to Rory McIlroy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, when I say hosted, like, her family left, Rory's family moved in, and like I said, I can't,
like, hid in a closet.
But I was like, how did I not
cameras everywhere? Taylor and I are taking this off the rails.
How did I not know this? Like, I just found out this week through someone else, and I was like, that is totally crazy.
That is,
and I hope
wild.
I didn't break any rules. Again, I didn't say her name. But isn't that wild? He completes his career Grand Slam after winning the Masters, and stayed at your pad.
He's got to stay at your house next year then. So, I mean, now you've guaranteed yourself you're going to have a renter next Masters season.
We need an MTV Cribs episode.
But yeah, people are still not happy with Rory, and I totally get it. I was defending Rory. I feel like out the wazoo after the Players' Championship win. I cannot defend anyone who is not going to live up to the standard that he's asked of other people. So that's the way I'll put it. I think Rory still, though, has lots of time left to play golf. And next time he has a bad round, you know what he can do? He can go talk to the media.
That's what I was about to say. Have a little conversation. And people will respect you a little bit more, probably.
Sure, because you know
we had text lines already. Somebody was like, "Haven't been able to listen this week. I'm glad Rory sucked this last week."
Scotty Scheffler,
welcome to the show.
Does it? Bryson DeChambeau does it. Like, come on, Rory, you got to do it too. All right, let's get it to. We talked about a couple of the NFL rule changes, but there are a few other ones that I wanted to see if y'all like this or don't like this. So. Much has been made about the fact that NFL players can now participate in the Olympics in flag football. That's great. We'll see if any of them do. That's something we can talk about at that point in time.
Some of the memes are hilarious with that, though, by the way, where it's like the quarterback for France seeing Myles Garrett and Nick Bosa.
I haven't seen those, so those are funny. How about the Hawkeye cameras to measure first downs? I feel like this is so smart. And Taylor has a nephew named Hawk, so it's even more perfect.
That's so cute. I didn't even think about that. Yes, I love that because why not? If you have the technology, in tennis, the way that ball moves, you can track it like that.
Soccer, VAR.
This is, long overdue, honestly, for that.
Yeah, for sure. Mia, the Steelers free agent proposal passed that allows teams to speak directly to free agents instead of the old rule, obviously, where you had to go through the agents.
So they just can call the player.
Yeah, that they had to, but especially because of Lamar Jackson and some of those other players who represent. Yeah, they represent themselves. So that was a matter of just the.
You don't want to have to talk to mom or dad.
The fine print trying. Well, I mean, in Lamar's case, his mom kind of acts as a pseudo agent. I mean, we know with the Sanders family what they were trying to do. But point being, this is to ensure the proper terminology on the fine print.
Both teams will now possess the ball in overtime. This has been the rule for the postseason games, but it hasn't been for the regular season. This, again, to me, feels like a no-duh.
I know. This one, I just never understood why they switched in the first place. And
player safety is what they're always going to try to hide behind.
I just don't believe. If you're making people travel across the world to Australia and play, I don't believe that you fully care about
and
that.
Brazil.
Yeah, I just don't believe that. But I'm not saying they want them to get hurt, but I just think that sometimes they use that as an excuse because that's their way of getting their way in certain areas.
Sure.
But yeah, there's no way that both teams, and I know some people are like, well, if the defense just stopped them, like you wouldn't have to worry about it. The defense, you don't really have much time either between the regulation and between overtime. The defense, a lot of times, especially if you're the team, if you lose the coin toss, you're already the defense coming straight off the field. That's hard. That's hard to do, especially with Patrick Mahomes coming down the field.
Absolutely. The NFL did expand the use of replay assist. Replay review can now be used to look at even more plays coming up this season. Under the new policy, hits on a defenseless player, grabbing the face mask, performing a horse collar tackle, tripping, and running into or roughing the kicker can all be reviewed. I think that that's smart. And I know some people would argue they don't want the game to take any longer than it already does. It's about a 3-hour game. But I will say, and that is a great catch out there in the outfield because bases were loaded for Georgia and Florida just got out of the inning. But yeah, I feel like, again, you have the technology and some of these players, like the kicker, can get seriously hurt and you lose them for the season. So that should be reviewed.
I don't think pace of play is an issue in the National Football League. I think it's just the inundation and the saturation because of commercial breaks, because of these lucrative television deals. And unfortunately, this is a byproduct. If you want the league to make more money, if you want these TV rights deals, then you need ads. And therefore, the commercials got to run. And we love our commercials here at 1010XL. We love our commercials.
Well, we love the clients, certainly, that are a part of 1010XL. But I will say the NFL does a much better job than college football of regulating how many commercials. And we as a station really do try to keep our commercial breaks a little shorter than maybe some other stations because we want y'all to hear each commercial and not hear like 10 minutes worth of commercials. And college football, you're going to be in a 7-minute commercial break. You may as well change it.
But also, sometimes come back for one play and then it's back into a commercial
more
break.
than anything, it's the halftime in college football. That's the issue. It is a very finite amount of time in the National Football League to
especially ask the broadcaster,
or to the point, ask Frank about his bathroom breaks,
down the hall.
or ask.
Luckily, it's right behind him,
or like ask any coach or player, and they will tell you, like all this talk of halftime adjustments. Maybe in college, but in the NFL, it's very hard to get a group of people together and actually have a conversation and implement new strategy or a new wrinkle to a game plan because you got to go to the bathroom, you got to grab a drink of water. And then you're right back out on the field.
Yeah, and especially, too, if you had any sort of injury, you're getting that worked on in your 15 minutes, too.
Yeah, personally, I feel it's funny because when I'm watching football games, NFL games especially, I'm like, man, that felt like it was 30 minutes. Like, it feels so fast when, especially if it's a team you care about. Like, if it's and you're at a game, it feels like I'm there. I'm like, man, that game's already in the fourth quarter. I felt like I just sat down. And so I don't think, and I know probably outside perspective of people that maybe aren't the biggest football fans are like, this takes forever. But it's really, I think they do a pretty good job of making sure things, and every now and then a review will take a little bit long. And this one, the weird one, the face mask is part of it. And so they can review if a face mask is called, they can pick up the flag, but they don't have a review for if they miss a face mask, which was the bigger problem last year. So hopefully that gets addressed.
Yeah, those to me are fairly obvious.
If you see someone's head getting yanked
correct,
off.
because their head moves in a direction in which it doesn't normally move. So yeah, I do feel like that. One other note, when it comes to college football, the 12-team bracket this upcoming season will be a straight seeded format. As Matt Hayes, who of course is on XL Primetime and also writes for USA Today Sports, put it, no more highest ranked conference champions earning first round buys, a format that benefits the ACC, Big 12, and Group of Five. No more Mr. Nice Guy from the Big Ten and the SEC.
I love it. I obviously, being a Notre Dame fan, I love it. And I just think it's hilarious because when all of this like playoff talk, expanded playoff, they're like, oh, and Notre Dame's going to have to join a division because eventually they're not going to be in this. And now they just keep kind of, conference. Now it's just kind of like, no, we want to make sure that Notre Dame can get one of those top 4 seeds if they earned it.
But to Matt's point, is this the Big Ten and the SEC making a play to A, ensure that they have more home playoff games, but also B, to maybe eventually get to a point where they get all but assured X amount of spots in the playoff field?
Of course. They are the big bad wolf in some people's eyes, and I get that. But they're also the ones that have the most leverage and power because they have the teams that have been winning the national championships. The ACC, when was the last time that Clemson would have won?
2019.
Yeah, so that's the last time you have a non-SEC or Big Ten. Obviously, it was the SEC for the longest time. The last couple have been Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a reason that they have that leverage.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense. And we do live in a world where it's those two conferences and everybody else pretty much. We talked about this yesterday when it comes to even the seating in the NFL and how I didn't like that the Lions backed out of their proposal. And it's similar. So I'm glad college football kind of went along with that side of things of the best teams, just seed them straight up of how they were. This one got confusing anyways. It was like they were seeded, they were ranked this, but then seeded this because you couldn't be a top. It was too much. Like it shouldn't be that complicated.
Doesn't necessarily need to be the third or fourth ranked or seeded team if they're really ranked 12th. And I'm just using them as an example because the Arizona State, not Cyclones, Iowa State Cyclones, Arizona State, Fear the Forum.
Sun Devils.
Thank you. They won the conference with Cam Scattaboo. All right, so we've got more to do. I've got today's Terminix Pest of the Day on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Joe Coward.
My reputation as a salesman precedes me.
Matt Hayes.
She's next on my list.
And Leon Searcy.
If we're going to make the promised land, we have to work together.
They're XL Prime Time.
Then we're in big trouble.
Afternoons 2 to 4 on 1010XL. It's a Helmets and Heels. Lee and Kate's Glass Friday.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Need a fast casual option that's healthy, fresh, and delicious? Choose the Great Greek Mediterranean Grill. Gyros, salads, hummus, and more made completely fresh right as you order. Off 210 and St. John's Parkway. The Great Greek Mediterranean Grill.
As a contractor, finding reliable subcontractors is key to project success. Prosser here. Guys, that's where Lloyd's Heating and Air shines. Not just your mechanical HVAC experts, but your partner, understanding every facet of construction to keep your project on track. Lloyd's will spot issues early before they cause delays. If you're a contractor with a need for reliability, visit LloydsHeatingandAir.com. Lloyd's Heating and Air, keeping you comfortable in every season.
Lauren Brooks here for Novus Glass of Jacksonville, the only place in town where you can get turbo tint. Now is the best time to upgrade the tint on your vehicle because the temperatures are in the 90s and you can get 10% off all next week in honor of Memorial Day. Yes, that's 10% off on Memorial Day and each day next week. So book today. What are you waiting for? orangepark.turbotint.com to get 10% off all next week. TurboTint looks amazing and it will keep your ride cool and comfortable. That's orangepark.turbotint.com.
Hey, don't buy a diamond at one of those big box corporate jewelers in the town center until you see what Beard's Diamonds can offer. Hicken here. Beard's Diamonds will give you a better price on a better quality diamond. Beards, they're not beholden to Wall Street. They are beholden to the people of Jacksonville. Why? Because they're the only locally owned jeweler in the town center. Yes, Beards has the best diamond selection in the region. No middleman prices on hand-picked diamonds, all shapes, all sizes. They also have the top bridal designers like Tacori and Verragio. And here's something else. Unlike the others, Beards doesn't have commissioned salespeople. Their experts get paid whether you buy something or not. So no pressure, ever. Their associates are diamond experts. They'll teach you how to buy a diamond the smart way. We're really lucky to have Beards here as a refreshing alternative. You get it all. No compromises, highest quality, personal service, no middleman pricing, and unbeatable guarantees. Beards Diamonds, the only locally owned jeweler. They're at the St. John's Town Center.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code OWN to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code OWN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code OWN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Yo, E.T. here, and I need you to beat the heat this summer with cool escapes and non-stop fun in Clay County. Tackle indoor adventures head on. Throw axes at Live by Axe or smash your stress away at Just Smash That. Then kick back with drinks, good food, and fandom vibes at Nakama Anime Bar or Leaderboard Arcade and Bar. Whether you're blowing off steam or just looking to chill, Clay County got your perfect indoor getaway. Find your cool at exploreclay.com. That's exploreclay.com.
Hunters Know Patience is part of the game.
Just got to keep hunting.
Jeff Lageman, Captain Kevin Faber, and Captain Kirk Waltz on the Nimnicht Outdoors Show. Presented by Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. Saturday morning from 7 to 10 on 1010XL.
Denny Thompson here. If you haven't heard, Tyson Sound and Security has a house built right inside their showroom, showcasing complete home automation and security systems. You have to see it to believe it. This setup can recognize intruders who approach your door and alerts them to leave if there's a break-in. Keep your family safe with the most state-of-the-art technology. Tyson Sound and Security, your security, home theater, and home automation experts. New showroom at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming Island.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. Did you know that mosquito bites could lead to heartworm for your dog or cat? When mosquitoes show up, pet parents want them gone. Terminix takes mosquitoes down fast, just like they did at my house for our pup. Terminix knows that pets are part of the family. They do what it takes to help protect them. When mosquitoes show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a mosquito problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
Jacksonville, Hickens calling it. Checkmate Coating, my MVP. Tough, slick floors that dominate any space.
Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Everybody's got a summer that they can't forget. They hold on to and go back to. You
mind's on the Carolina coast, still burning in my mind like a red
I feel like every
sun.
Friday we play some new country music because
Love it.
that's what we do. So this is Scotty McCrew. You're probably not going to hear the part where Hootie and the Blowfish join him on the song.
nice.
Not Darius. Hootie and the
Correct,
Blowfish.
Hootie and the Blowfish, and they sing "Hold My Hand." It is so great.
That's awesome.
This song. I'm going to say, at least for me, is probably going to be like one of my go-to songs this summer. It is so good.
Love
I know
it.
we're only allowed to play like a certain portion of songs, so I certainly don't want to get us in trouble with anything. But if you haven't yet, go listen to this song. It's called "Bottle Rockets."
Do we?
Bottle Rockets.
Is now the part where we? Oh, I do like. There's some Darius. Love that. Love the Hootie.
Yes.
Yeah. I was gonna say what a combo, considering I've hung out with them now not once but twice in my young life. So yeah, if you didn't know that story, they certainly were a part of the Furyk and Friends first ever tournament back in 2021. But I actually met both Scotty and Darius when I was an intern at the ACMs, and it was Darius was the host of the Golf Classic that they do the Saturday before the awards show in Las Vegas, and yeah, I got a chance to interview and be on the course with Scotty bright and early. I don't know if Scotty went to bed the night before, so
one of those.
It was quite
in
Vegas. It was quite the experience, and we may or may not have recreated the picture of him, me, and Darius and company.
Sounds like a John
6
Party
years later.
party.
It was
exactly what I was
those
thinking.
vibes. Those vibes. Shout out Charles Kelly, who was also there. So, and we know he likes to party, although now he's doing better. I think so.
Yeah, for people who don't remember what Taylor's talking about, years and years ago. So this actually would have been during COVID 2020, right before John Party was going to come play in the parking lot outside of Everbank Stadium, and everyone had to be socially distanced. And that was like the only concert going on, which Florida football had lost that day, and I was in a bad mood. And then it poured down rain, and we had to wait for like an hour and a half for John Party to go on air. But either way, he joined Helmets and Heels on the Tuesday prior, and he had been
pretty good.
He had been certainly imbibing, and if you don't know what that word means, he was inebriated. And yeah, he didn't want to. I was like, oh gosh, he's really drunk. We need to hang up the phone.
He would
And
not let us
He
off.
refused. He was like, what are you
He was
doing?
like, are you guys trying to hang up on me?
Yes, I am. I'm afraid we're going to get a text from our boss saying, just hang the phone up.
He's like, just sipping beers in my yard. And we were like, oh, okay.
We can tell. It's a lot of whiskey there, John Party. Yeah, the 49ers had just lost the Super Bowl, and John Party, like prior to that, and that year. And so I think I tried to ask him about that, but I think he went in a different direction, which this has nothing to do with that conversation, but go do yourself a favor if you like Tom Brady or Morgan Wallen. There's a video on
Tom
YouTube.
Brady or Morgan Wallen. Man,
Yes.
that's a hell of a combination right there. Speaking of iconic duos.
Yeah, there's a video on YouTube, on Tom Brady's YouTube channel, where he and Morgan Wallen play a round of golf. And it is so funny. And in the end, Morgan Wallen wins the round of golf. So I spoiled it a little bit. But either way, definitely go check it out.
Okay.
It's only like 10 minutes, at least, that I watched this morning. It was great. All right, time now for today's Terminix Pest of the Day, as always, brought to you by our friends at Terminix. You can find them online, TERMINIX.com. If you have any issues with mosquitoes, certainly right now, this time of year, those things are awful. Nobody likes those. Terminix will come out and spray your yard like they did ours. And also, you want to make sure that they handle your pest control, termites, any of that kind of stuff, just like they do at Everbank Stadium, ViStar Ballpark, ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena. The Pest of the Day, Taylor, we were just talking about this the other day with Max. The Rockies are now 8-42 after being swept in 4 games by the Phillies. The entire Rockies organization, this is a shame or a disgusting thing for all of baseball to have to watch. And how many more games do they now have left to play?
That's a lot of games.
Over
They've only
100.
won 8. Yeah, it was 114 the other day when it was like 8-40 or whatever. So I think I tweeted
it's
it.
112 now.
Yeah.
After the 4-game sweep. So they still have to play that many games. It's an embarrassment for Major League Baseball. This will probably go down as the worst team of all time. How can that be in 2025?
And the worst part is they play at Coors Field, where you would think,
Right.
oh, maybe they have an advantage on the offensive end of things. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
The wild thing, though, credit to Rockies fans or people going to those games, because the game the other day where they lost 19-0, there was 40,000 fans, and they stayed the entire game.
Well, but were they fans of the other team?
But they were showing the crowd. I was
It's a
like,
great
there's
stadium.
a lot of Rockies
It's a great
fans.
stadium.
It is a great stadium. I loved my experience there. When I went, the Rockies played the Mets, and I will say there were a lot of Mets fans that day.
And that's what there was obviously still fans from the other, but as they were going across, I was like, there's a lot of Rockies fans still sitting there.
So it
and
was
I would have been drunk at the bar.
19-0, and then they also had the 21-0. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
File that one away. That was all in the last
they
2
were
weeks.
losing 19-0 in the 5th inning.
I mean, for crying out loud. I did want to give a shout out to JU. We'll play the highlight in the next segment, but JU baseball just walked it off.
Oh.
And so against North Alabama, so that's super exciting. JU wins 3-2 in baseball. As far as the softball game is concerned, Florida is up 6-1 in the top of the 7th. The problem is there's a review right now. They said that it was on-field obstruction. So they have been reviewing this now for a few minutes. So we'll give you an update here in just a little bit. We didn't play the Feel Good Friday sounder, nor do we need to necessarily. But I wanted to see what is making you happy this Friday, y'all.
Ready to have a 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
How about that?
Amen to that for sure.
Yeah, I will give a little shout out to my nephew today. He had his little VPK ceremony thing at Providence, and he did such a good job. He read his little scripture and sang his little songs, and he looked so cute. Dr. Bari, I saw Dr. Bari, and his kid was going through, I think his kids actually might be going into kindergarten because he was like part of the final little like recession thing. But it was really cute, and it was just, I was crying a little because it's emotional seeing them grow so fast. And I was like, oh my gosh, how he was just a baby and now he's up there singing Bible scriptures and Bible songs. Happens really fast, but that was a really good way to start my Friday.
I always say other people's kids grow up so fast.
Yeah.
And you obviously see your nephews a lot. But when you haven't seen someone's kids in a while and they just like shoot up like weeds, so to speak.
And the way they communicate and talk, like it feels when you're not with them every day. When you're with them every day, obviously, I'm sure it's kind of like a gradual thing. But when you go a little bit longer in between, the conversations that he has, I'm like, how do you even know that? You're only 4 years old. This is so crazy.
I know. Once again, shout out to Coach Driscoll, stepping down after 16 years at UNF, moving on to a position at Kansas State, the associate head coach position there. And his family. And then also shout out to Coach Kinnan for taking over, and excited to see what UNF basketball will become. As far as my Feel Good Friday right now, Florida's trying to win a softball game against Georgia 6-1. Later, lacrosse. That's going to be a very exciting. Final Four begins at 3 p.m. with Florida taking on number 1 North Carolina. Mia, what do I need to know about North Carolina other than they're the best team in the country?
Yeah, I honestly thought that Clemson would give them more fits in that opening round of the tournament just because Clemson's like a really emerging program and they have a lot of different threats to score. But that was not the case. They steamrolled them. And so I haven't watched a ton of North Carolina. What I can tell you is that outside of North Carolina, this is an identical Final Four to a season ago, minus Syracuse, substituting North Carolina in for the Orange. And this kind of speaks to, the reality of women's lacrosse, which is while it's growing around the country, Northwestern and Boston College remain the undisputed top 2 teams in the country. Boston College won the national title last year. Northwestern has the most titles of anyone. I would argue, though, Lauren, to give it a soccer analogy, since I know obviously you're familiar with this, I would argue that when it comes to women's lacrosse, first off, it's massive for Florida to go to a 3rd overall Final Four, their 2nd straight. That's massive for the Gators. I would argue right now in terms of the timeline, we're at the UNC dominating women's college soccer stage of things, which, look, North Carolina has won a national title in the 21st century. But in the 80s and 90s, Anson Dorrance and Mia Hamm and company won every single year. And
that's why it was so impressive that Becky Burleigh and the Florida staff won it in 1998.
Was massive when Florida broke through in 1998 with Abby Wambach and company. And so that's where I would argue we kind of are in the timeline and the growth of women's lacrosse. And so the good news is that Northwestern and Boston College play each other at 5:30 today, so only one of them can advance to the national title this year, and so we'll at least have a little bit of new blood in the championship game come Sunday.
Well, we know how Florida got into this. It was a very scary game for Florida fans. Up 11-2, you think everything's going to go fine, and then the other team scores 7 straight.
And that was only after a rainy overtime win over Stanford.
Correct.
I mean, I was more worried about that game if I'm watching
I can
the
understand
Gators.
that too. Yeah,
I was like, ooh, weird things can happen. And then, of course, the men's Final Four is tomorrow in Philadelphia, and that'll be Penn State Cornell at noon, and then Syracuse Maryland at 2:30 in the Final Four for the men, and then the championship game Monday.
I wonder who you're cheering for in your household.
Oh yeah, no, we all know. It's funny. I mean, like, listen, I do have a lot of friends who work at Syracuse, and so I've gotten a lot of Go Orange texts today. And that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I mean, look, it's a great story. Gates, their head coach, is one of the greatest players in college lacrosse history, let alone in Syracuse lacrosse history, Canadian-born. ESPN did an amazing feature. He was the coach of the women's team from 97 to 2021, and then he switched to the men's side. Syracuse has not been to the Final Four since 2013. They, much like North Carolina when it comes to women's soccer, dominated the sport, most national titles in the 20th century, and then all of a sudden here we are. It's been 12 years since they even made the Final Four, let alone the national title game. But I bring up the story to say the head coach's twin brother, who is also, his number is retired in the rafters, actually suffered a traumatic accident. He fell from a barn roof a couple of years ago, so he's paralyzed from the hips down. And so they actually recognized the two of them on the field earlier this season when they were finally retired their numbers. And so, yeah, so it does make you want to root for them, and this idea of Gates restoring the orange lacrosse, like I get it. But also Maryland, is a great story as well. Their goalie, who is actually from the Corning, Elmira area, so down the road from Syracuse, down the road from Ithaca, where I went to school, he's in his 6th year at Maryland, has had 2 injuries. Every season in which he's been the starter and has started every single game, Maryland has played for the national title. So 3 of his previous 5 seasons, because his freshman year, he started starting midway through his freshman year, so they didn't play for the national title that year. So history is certainly on the Terp side in that one. And yes, and then Cornell is the number 1 team in the country facing Penn State in the opener.
Yeah, those Ivy League schools, they're really good at lacrosse. So Florida did end up winning, beat Georgia 6-1. That's the first game of that super regional. Last night, by the way, tomorrow 11 a.m. for the game 2. Last night, FSU lost to Texas Tech. This is in softball still, 3-0. So FSU blanked by Texas Tech last night. Game 2 is today at 3 p.m. So another Feel Good Friday. All the sports. Give me all the sports. We've got the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs certainly carrying on right now. And then we've got so many college sports.
Have we made contact with Dan Hicken?
I have not talked to Dan yet.
Okay. Do we know?
He was driving up to New York.
Mm-hmm.
So
he was driving, not flying.
He was driving.
That was actually, I think, really smart.
Yeah.
And it takes, what, like 14 hours?
Because he said he was going to half it. So he was going to drive halfway, stop somewhere, and then get up the next day and finish it. I think he actually said he's going to drive the majority day 1, so that way the final stretch that next day was easy. So
I've done that drive all like in a row. My uncle and I drove like 14 hours straight back from family up there, and it's not that bad because it's mainly 95. Like it's not like, assuming that 95 doesn't have any
traffic
issues. It's not that bad. All right, 1 segment to go on this Feel Good Friday on Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
1010XL, giving you more to dig.
Can you dig it?
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 1010XL. Lee and Kate's Glass.
Friday on Helmets and Heels.
Are you ready to step up to luxury?
Check out the power of our exciting 2025 lineup, including the Lyric, IQ, Optique, and the stunning Visti.
With over 15 electric Cadillacs in stock and more on the way, it's the perfect time to trade in your Tesla and embrace luxury with a twist.
At Randy Marion, there are no tariffs. Visit Randy Marion Cadillac on Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville, and see why our electric lineup turns heads.
Don't miss out. Drive Cadillac, electric or gas. We have both. Plus tax tag title $9.99 admin fee and resistol on approved credit.
It's May, and that means it's Founders Month here at Sonny's Barbecue. Every Wednesday, we're celebrating with $7 pork big deal served with a sidekick and a drink, or one of our pork and rib combos for just $11. It's our way of saying thanks for letting us be your local pitmasters. So stop in for great deals on the Q you crave. Founders Month specials at Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
It's Work Zone Awareness Week, Florida. Every year, lives are lost in work zones because of speeding and distractions. When you see orange cones, remember, slow down, follow the signs, and stay focused. Workers are counting on you to get home safely, and so are their families. Let's work together to prevent crashes and save lives. A safety reminder from the Florida Department of Transportation. Slow your roll. Safety's the goal.
Right now, they're on their way to disrupt your life, make you uncomfortable, and rob you. Don't bother calling the police. They can't help. That's right. Summer heat and humidity are about to attack North Florida again. You know what to do. Call Mike Merritt. Mike Merritt's Heating and Air has a license to chill. When heat and humidity are attacking you, Mike Merritt provides a comfortable chill at a bargain price. Mike has been keeping North Florida comfortable for 30 years. Mike Merritt technicians are never paid commissions, meaning you'll never be pressured to buy something you don't need. And Mike Merritt knows cooling issues can arise anytime. They don't just happen during business hours. So Mike Merritt never charges overtime fees. When you need us, we're here for you. Remember, in the fight against heat and humidity, Mike Merritt has a license to chill. Visit merrittair.com. Florida license number CACO 50384.
Don't miss the Bari Breakdown with Dr. George Bari on XL Primetime, Wednesdays around 3:20 for the latest in sports injuries. From all the big names in the game, who's MIA, who's coming back from injury. Dr. George Bari on XL Primetime, Wednesdays at 3:20.
Life is about choices and the decisions you make. I'm David Robbins with Epstein & Robbins. If you're convicted of a DUI, you'll have to face severe consequences. Walking through the doors of the courthouse or appearing at a bond hearing can be extremely intimidating. Without the right lawyer, you're likely to make the wrong decision. Let our team help you make the right decisions in court. Epstein & Robbins, the right choice.
Epstein & Robbins, fighting for your rights since 1975.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick. We're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, it only costs for the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by November 6th.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
Power bill just went up again? Why keep paying more? Clay Solar can wipe that electric bill out. Right now, they'll cover your first 6 months' payments. Visit claysolar.com today to schedule your free consultation. claysolar.com.
Reclaim a pain-free life with Rebound Rehab. If you've been injured or simply feeling the effects of an active life, you can rely on Rebound Rehabilitation to get you back in the game. Sitting on the sidelines isn't any fun. Trust Rebound Rehab's team of trained physical therapists to get you back up to speed and feeling full again. Now more convenient than ever. 11 locations to serve you, including new offices in Riverside across from St. Vincent's, Point Meadows, and Middleburg. Just log on to reboundrehab.com to see all they've got to offer.
Mark Watson here to tell you a little bit about hardballcreative.com. It's your online promo haven with thousands of ideas on how to promote your company. We're open 24/7, 365.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air, Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
Okay, so a couple of notes as we cool down here on a Friday edition, headed into a 3-day weekend edition of Helmets and Heels. Yes, the Superstation will be off on Monday.
Thank you, all of those who have served and still serving.
Yes, and so therefore, if you turn on your radio and you don't hear us, we salute those who sacrificed the ultimate sacrifice so we could all enjoy this weekend off. And don't forget the meaning of the weekend. Okay, I want to cool down with a couple sports notes, but first, we have to address this. Young Jake Young Yoda. We don't call him Yoda anymore. We don't call him Jacob anymore either. We call him Jake. Now that he's on the payroll. Jake just walked in here.
Jake Flicks. I feel like that should be his name.
Jake Flicks on IG. Jake Flicks, our videographer and photographer here at the Superstation, just walks in here. And now, mind you, he's a young pup. He just graduated from UNF. He's in his early 20s. And
he's not even 21 yet.
Shh, I didn't want to do that to him like that.
Well, but it's going to be exciting because we get to celebrate his 21st birthday.
We do.
I can't wait.
Next month, we do.
Yeah.
And so Jake just walks in here and he asks us, okay, I'm a little shook. I need to talk to you ladies. Have you ever seen The Notebook? I didn't have that on my bingo card for this Friday, May the 23rd. The answer is yes. However, evidently, Trent Osborne has never seen it either. And so, Heeligans, please hit the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures or the YouTube chat line. We need to know who has and who hasn't seen The Notebook because Trent also hasn't seen Forrest Gump.
When he said that one last week when we were, or I guess on Monday at the Guggen, and there was several of our interns, Trent and then 2 interns were all like, no, we've never seen Forrest Gump. And I'm like, what?
Like
it's
when
one
I
of the most iconic movies.
When I say can't sit here, like you don't know what that's
how many
from?
jokes are you missing?
Right.
Like life's
shrimp
like a box of
cocktail.
chocolates.
Right. Run, Forrest, run. Like
it's also like readily available on streaming platforms, and so that's why I'm like, dog, like you can go watch this whenever, and it's probably a pillar of cinema in the last 35 years. So please hit us on the text line in the YouTube chat. We're trying to see something.
Don't hit
here.
us. Hit us up.
Yeah, hit us up. The kids have shortened the word opportunity to op.
Take all the extra words.
Yeah,
out.
sorry. Here we are. 2 notes. Certainly Ronald Acuna coming off the reserve injured list tonight, being activated or reinstated, I should say, to the active roster for the Braves, who, of course, have been playing some nice baseball, even if I know a lot of you, JJ LaSelva, are not very happy with the manager.
Very not happy.
Yep, very much not happy with Brian Snitker
Acuna
right
hasn't
now.
been happy with him either because remember, once upon a time, Ronald Acuna got punished for not running out a routine ground ball, and then another player did it and didn't run it out, and Snitker didn't punish him like he punished Acuna.
Is Snitker the Sean McDermott of Major League Baseball?
Maybe.
I think with some of the commentary and some of the I appreciate you wanting to set a standard and toe the line here, but it's interesting.
JJ texted me last night. We were talking about some different baseball stuff, and he literally is like, Snitker has to go. Like that. He's very adamant about it. And I was like, well, you're getting Acuna back. Maybe that'll help.
Right.
And he was like, if we get 2023 Acuna, it'll help. If we get last year Acuna, I'm not sure how much it's going to help the Braves right now. And so, yeah, Braves fans overall, especially guys like a JJ, are very frustrated.
Well, especially after you start the season 0-7, and now you've battled your way back, and then you still have these shortcomings, but the margin for error, even with 114 games to go, is still very, very small because you play in a pretty good division. So I get it. We need Acuna to turn it up for the Dunkirk Duelahan's fantasy team. So please, Ronald, we speak it into existence. But certainly,
2
Lauren,
games against the Padres, then 3 against the Phillies.
Yes, and certainly, Lauren, this idea of when you're coming off a torn ACL, especially in Ronald Acuna's case, this is far from his first significant injury to that ACL to his legs. This idea, and we see it in football and baseball, is a little bit different just by virtue of how the sport is played, that you don't see the athlete at their full potential until the next year after that. So to JJ's point, I don't think
how quickly is he going?
I don't think you're going to see 2022 Ronald, right? I think you're going to see. Well, no, 2023. Yeah,
Ronald,
you're going to see 2022 Ronald when he was coming off of it the first time.
Yeah. And that's what it's unfortunate. And he's one of the players. It's a little bit, obviously, some people get a little annoyed because he's that point bat flip, like that type of stuff. I saw even JJ quote tweet because he hit a home run and when he was still on AAA and did his bat flip and pointed and jogged the bases. And JJ was like, you just did this against somebody who can barely start on the AAA team. Let's chill out a little bit. But that's who he is. And he's always going to be that. And some people love it. Some people don't. Depends what side of that baseball world you're in if you love that stuff. But he's never going to change. That's who Acuna is going to be. So you hope that Acuna is one of those players, if you are a Braves fan or if you don't hate the Braves, you want Acuna to play well because he is fun. He's one of those players that's very exciting to watch when he's at that high level that we saw in 23.
For sure. All right, speaking of baseball, RJ, let's hit it.
2-0 coming. Breaking ball hit well into left field, going back to the track, to the wall. It bounces, and this ball game is over. Sammy Mumau, the Dolphins celebrate in center field. A walk-off RBI hit in the bottom of the ninth, and Jacksonville moves on.
there's no better feeling, whether you're a player or certainly it's your team, than a walk-off to end it. So JU will continue playing in the ASUN baseball tournament. You just heard them beat North Alabama 3-2 earlier today. And then on the other side of their bracket, Central Arkansas at Florida Gulf Coast, they play first pitches today at 2 p.m. And so then JU will play the winner of that game tomorrow at noon. So for all you Dolphins fans out there, make sure you are in front of a TV tomorrow at noon.
One more sports note. I promised I had multiple. Then we're going to do the ceremonial reading of the Notebook text line responses because they are as advertised and as expected.
I have a couple of sports notes before we get to that.
Okay. Angel Reese last night, Taylor.
Yeah. Oh, I screenshot it.
2 points. 0 of 8 from the floor. 2 of 6 from the line. 12 boards. 3 of them on one play. 5 turnovers.
Okay, so...
And look, Caitlin Clark didn't hit a 3 for the first time.
You have to balance it out.
No, Caitlin Clark didn't hit a 3 for the first time since she was a sophomore in college, which is
only
allowed.
11 points, yeah.
It's allowed, and also it speaks to the depth and the roster construction of the Fever because Natasha Howard, who was awful on Tuesday night, goes off for 30+. Continue, Taylor.
The screenshot of this stretch of time is just hilarious. Angel Reese offensive rebound. Jonquel Jones blocks Angel Reese's 1-foot layup. Angel Reese offensive rebound. Jonquel Jones blocks Angel Reese 1-foot layup. Angel Reese offensive rebound. Angel Reese misses layup. Angel Reese offensive rebound. Angel Reese misses layup. Angel Reese offensive rebound.
But here's the thing, like people online were like, at that point in time when you've missed 3 straight shots,
maybe let somebody else shoot.
Throw the ball to somebody else. Like let someone else try. But no, it's
hilarious.
It's one of the best bits. And no, Caitlin didn't have her best night, but we needed to tie a loose end with the Angel part of it. So
for sure. All right, so ACC baseball tournament. All you Noles out there, you take on Duke at 3 p.m. today, so that's an important one, certainly for FSU. And then SEC baseball, were y'all watching Tennessee, Texas? Because it lived up to the hype, that baseball game last night. So Tennessee was down 4-0. Now, granted, I'm cheering for Texas. Mm-hmm. Things didn't eventually go my way. But Tennessee's down 4-0. I'm like, all right, here we go. Tony Vitello's group going down. Good job, Texas, the class of the SEC in baseball. And then the Vols tied it up at the top of the 6th. And then both teams were scoreless from the 7th through the 9th. Then both played it a run in the 10th. Then they were scoreless again in the 11th. And then eventually Tennessee scored 2 runs in the top of the 12th and ended up winning 7-5. That felt like an SEC baseball championship type game. They laid it all out there. And then you know what we get, in your words, Mia? Absolute cinema.
Yes.
Because do you know who Tennessee's next opponent is?
I'm doing the math in my head. It
Vanderbilt.
is
I was literally about to ask
we
if it's
Vandy. We had the Vandy Oklahoma game on last night, and that was a nice throwback to the Commodores of old when they were dominating the sport.
So Tennessee Vanderbilt, obviously massive rivalry there, and so that one's going to be fun. And then on the other side of the SEC bracket, Ole Miss and Arkansas play today at 4 p.m. and then Texas versus LSU at 7:30. Last sports note before we get to the notebook: Gators men's golf playing now in the NCAA championships out there in California. So we'll keep you updated with that. All right, ceremonial reading. Commence.
I need some background music on this one, RJ. Up there.
Oh,
he's ready.
He's so ready.
From 502. Guys watch The Notebook with their girl to get that box of chocolates. Am I right? 832. Yes, I read the book, but the sequel book, The Wedding, is even better.
I hadn't read that.
I'm sure I have.
From 762, seen it. Rachel McAdams was horrible to her first husband in that movie. I think you may be confusing that. No, that was The Notebook. Just kidding. I was just going to say, is that another Rachel McAdams?
They were engaged, I think.
Yeah, they were engaged.
But
Rachel McAdams is beautiful.
Yeah, she was not very nice.
From 387, as a guy, I'm not embarrassed to admit that I have a few chick flick movies I love.
Okay, lay it on us.
I would never watch around anyone else because I will ugly cry.
Okay, I get that.
The Notebook is number 1. A Walk to Remember is number 2. I have actually only seen it once because I couldn't handle it and had to walk away.
Walk to Remember.
Love Actually. Good.
Good.
Love Actually is like my number 1 Christmas movie to
Great
watch
call. Serendipity.
That's very good too.
Hachai? A Dog's Tale. Intriguing, 387.
Dog ones make me cry.
Yeah, I can't do. Yeah, it started with Old Yeller, and ever since then I stay away.
And we wrap this up, this ceremonial reading of the text line with from 400. A girlfriend ruining a whole night by forcing the Notebook is a rite of passage, young Jake. Very sad.
Jake said he loved it, but it's funny. There's a whole
at 9 a.m.
by himself. I think.
That is very odd.
There's a whole episode of New Girl I'm pretty sure it was New Girl, where the guy, like, he had never seen The Notebook, and the girl was like, we have to watch The Notebook. And so they sit down to watch The Notebook, and he's just like bawling, crying, watching this movie. And he's like, this is so embarrassing.
I mean, I think, so the guys in my life, like Brian, my husband, my dad, like they are not embarrassed to cry at stuff. Like whether it's sports stuff, like especially if it's one of those like sports documentaries. Who's the reporter that every time you hear his voice, like I feel like you just end up with tears on college game day?
It's
he's moved on to I think Fox.
Yeah,
now,
it's whatchamacallit, Tom Rinaldi.
Yes, thank you. As soon as Tom Rinaldi, he could say today's Friday. I'm like, I need the tissues, Tom. They're not afraid to cry at stuff like that. So it does, to me, like guys should be able to cry. However, I'm just surprised that Jake decided to watch The Notebook, like you said, by himself, but also on a Friday morning.
A group of guys in his group chat, like his friend group chat, apparently is what spurred this at 9 a.m. I'm fascinated that you men, like, out there, we love our young Heeligans, evidently. They're, like, discussing The Notebook at 8 a.m. on a Friday morning.
Speaking of 365 letters.
By the way, speaking of movies, Taylor, you didn't mention this during Feel Good Friday.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to see the new Final Destination tonight.
Of course.
I'm so excited. I've heard it's really, really good. Like from the reviews that I've heard, it's the best one of all of the Final Destinations.
Since the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so people are very, very high on it. But they did it really cool because it's like it's called Bloodlines. So I don't know exactly, but from what I've heard, it goes back and it's like people, because if you know the plot of Final Destination, people escape death and then death comes after them because they were supposed to die at that time and they didn't. And so like the world has a plan and blah, blah, blah. And so this one apparently goes back to like bloodlines because people who had escaped death previously is now affecting families way in the future. And so I'm so excited.
Yes. So there's your wrap on The Notebook and Final Destination. Let's say hello to Matt Hayes.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
Logical next question. Have you seen The Notebook, Matt Hayes?
No, but I came walking in the studio singing Nashville, Tennessee, and RJ's never heard of Nashville, Tennessee from Chris Stapleton. So
such a good song.
A little disappointed in
RJ's
RJ.
not a Chris Stapleton. That's not his go-to genre. Country's not, or even.
He says he's listened to him before.
Okay, well, that is a fantastic song. I love that one. He's on that album. He also has the one about his dog that I can't listen to that song because it was a black lab, and I once had a black lab. And you're a dog person, so you totally get
And
it.
I have a black lab, right?
Exactly. So Matt.
So
earlier,
The Notebook. I have not seen The Notebook,
Okay.
and don't plan to see The Notebook. However, Final Destination 7,
He's all in.
I might watch that one.
I read your line earlier on the show from your most recent article in USA Today Sports. No more Mr. Nice Guy from the Big Ten and the SEC. So now I have no more Mr. Nice Guy stuck in my head. Nice Guy. Mr. Nice Guy. No more. Yeah.
Alice
thank
Cooper
you.
song.
Yeah. From Dazed and Confused is how I know it. But yeah, no more Mr. Nice Guy.
They're not messing around anymore. And what I can't believe is like they're literally telling you now what they're going to do.
Right.
How they're going to take college football, take control of it. And it's like no one believes them. And they keep saying it, and everything they say is happening. And it's going to happen next year, too, when it goes to 16 teams, and then they're going to have 4 automatic bids, and the Big Ten's going to have 4 automatic bids, and they're going to turn the championship week into a play-in week, and they're going to steal the momentum from all the other conferences because in the play-in week, their 4 games are going to be the 4 games, so there's 8 total games, are going to be the only games that people watch.
Right.
Nobody's going to watch the Big 12 championship game or the ACC
No,
championship
it's football.
game.
People will watch.
They'll watch, but they're not going to watch at that level.
Those 8 games.
They're not. Those games will crush those. I mean, they're going to suck the life out of championship week before the playoff even begins.
So Lauren's argument was, well, they're the teams that are making the most money, and and they have the most quality teams, so who cares? But is there...
Well, just that they have the most leverage because of that.
Right. Is there a bigger concern that you have, or just the purity of college football?
I think my concern is there are so many studies out there right now and so many television metrics that point to if they pool their television media rights deals together, which they can get Congress to pass that easily because that's what the NFL did. That's the broadcasting rights of 1961. If you go by that act that was passed, every study out there says they're leaving a lot of money on the table. So if they did that, they would make not only a lot of money to cover everyone getting paid, all 136 FBS teams, but they would get more as well. But they have bigger ideas and they have bigger plans, and their ideas and their plans are to be the NFC and the AFC eventually one day. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And that's their goal is 2030, 2031, around there, where that will start to take effect.
Let me ask you, because for those, when it comes to those potential for automatic bids for each, the Big Ten and the SEC, is that money driven for those conferences? Because to me, it's interesting. Like, if you think you're that good, then you would have 4 teams in there either way, but you're guaranteed that money then.
So the playoff itself, just the playoff now, not even talking about any other game, anything as far as media rights, is worth $1.2 billion annually for the 12-teamer. So when it goes to 16, it's probably going to be worth about 1.4, 1.5 billion annually.
Mm-hmm.
The more games you play, the more money for your conference, the more money for the teams in your conference. So it's advantageous for you to get those automatic bids. So right away, if you get 4 teams in there, right off the bat, you've got a certain chunk of that money.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still 3 at-large teams left. And when there's 3 at-large teams left in a 16-team field, you're going to choose the teams whose strength of schedule is better than the other team's strength of schedule. And if it's the SEC and the Big Ten, 9 times out of 10, their strength of schedule will be better than anyone else.
Cinderella is dead.
It's not dead, but Cinderella is going to be one of the very few at the party that's not wearing, what's the best way to say this, Lauren?
Christian Louboutin.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was looking for.
Yep. All right, Matt. Next time we have you on for Crosstalk, I want to ask you, so I'm going to give you plenty of time to think about it. Do you still enjoy covering college football as much as you once did?
Love it.
Okay, good.
There's your answer.
We don't even have to wait. All right, thanks, Matt. We'll be listening to XLP. That'll do it for us. Everybody have a safe Memorial Day weekend. And once again, thank you to all who sacrificed their all for us to have freedom. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These deals are made for talking. We will talk to you on Tuesday. But don't go anywhere. XL Primetime is next.